Hi folks, it's Danny here, and today we've got a video for you, something that needs to be spoken about and discussed. Something that I find particularly interesting, but not something that's really a joyous thing to be speaking about, and that is female predators and the difference in how they're treated, both in the justice system and within society, compared to their male counterparts. So, there is a concept in feminist criminology that accuses the criminal justice system of discrimination based on gender, and that women are treated more harshly within that system compared with men who commit similar offences by the application of what they term double deviance. The idea is that women committing the same crimes as their male counterparts receive harsher punishments and treatment due to their breaking of societal rules and norms that are placed onto the females. And whilst there seems to be a few instances of this happening, in this video we'll have a look at the picture as a whole and not just how women are treated within the judicial system, but how female offenders are seen in society and the level of outrage placed on their crimes by society compared to males who commit similar offences, particularly in regards to crimes of a predatory nature. Now, as a society, the gender roles, although they are gradually changing, have generally been the same. These roles are placed onto a child as soon as they are born. They are declared either a boy or girl, and whilst this is a natural and innocent declaration, it comes with norms, values and roles and expectations of behaviour. A study by Smith and Lloyd in 1978 saw mothers of young infants being asked to play with a 6-month-old baby. The baby was the same baby for both cases. They just called them either Joy or Janie. The study saw that even at this young age, there was a substantial difference in how these mothers played with the baby. Joy was handled more roughly with lots of bouncing, and they offered him toys such as hammers or rattles, whereas Janie was played with in a more gentler way. She wasn't bounced about, and she was offered baby dolls to play with. And although this seems innocuous enough, it does show that as babies there's a definite difference in how we treat girls and boys and how we see them consciously or otherwise. When it comes to the differences between sexes, aggression, more specifically physical aggression, is seen to be the difference that is most prominent. With rougher and tumble play in the early years moving on to mock fighting, boys tend to engage in this behaviour more compared to girls. This is a difference that Harlow, 1962, found in apes and monkeys also. The difference is seen into adulthood, and whilst acts of physical violence comparatively are relatively rare in both sexes, Johnson, 1979, found that it was more common in males, with adolescent males being 5 times more likely to be involved with violent crimes. At birth, a child's sex is seen to be one of the most accurate discriminators of their criminal behaviour, with violent crimes being dominated by males. I think that gender roles placed on women are very important, although as stereotypical as some of them are, stereotypes are there for a reason, right? So what are the personality traits that or behaviours that we would automatically place onto a woman? Possibly kind, caring, safe, nurturing, a homemaker, a mother, a wife, problem solver, a good listener, a victim, weak. And while some people don't like to admit it, that they do place judgments onto a person based on their gender or sex, it is okay to admit that we do. For the most part, it's a learned automatic response. You can acknowledge that you have these biases and work on changing them at the same time. It is important that we do acknowledge them, however, because I feel like the treatment of women in society and the judicial system is deep-rooted within these beliefs. In the last few years, the focus on predators has become ever more prominent. This is more likely than not can be seen as a result of an ever-growing social media age, and that more conversations are being had, and people are actually speaking up about their experiences more and more. And although I don't think there's any more predators now than there was, say, 30 years ago, I do believe that social media has made it easier for them to gain access to their victims. When I speak about predators, a definite image comes to my head. An old, creepy man standing outside of a school gate. A man. And I bet this is similar to what you were thinking. Even though we know better, we know that predators come in all shapes, sexes, ages, we do still have that creepy old man image that sticks with us. So, what is the definition of a predator? More specifically, a sexual predator. Now, Wikipedia defines a sexual predator as a person seen as obtaining or trying to obtain sexual contact with another person in a metaphorically predatory or abusive manner. We've all grown up and have been taught to be wary of these men. Throughout recent history, all of the focus has been on male predators. Catholic priests, teachers, coaches, dirty old men at bus stops. All different, all in different sectors of society, but all men nonetheless, bar a very few rare instances. It isn't until recent times that we're hearing more and more about females abusing their positions of power, sexuality, and trust to prey upon and abuse innocent children, adolescents, and adults. Yes, that is correct. Despite the backward laws in many countries, including my own, declaring that it's not rape unless someone is penetrated, meaning women can't legally rape men, they can and they do. With regards to rape, under the UK Sexual Offences Act 2003, it states, a person A commits an offence if A. He intentionally penetrates the vagina, anus or mouth of another person, that's person B, with his penis. B does not consent to the penetration, and subject A does not reasonably believe that B consents. It's absolutely mind-blowing to me that we are stuck in this sort of backwards way of thinking. Now, the whole point of this video is to look at female predators and their crimes and what repercussions there are in terms of the judicial system and society's reaction to them. A good place to start with this, I feel, is teachers. The first being Mary Kay Letourneau. Now, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, and to be fair, I actually don't care. Mary was an elementary school teacher who first met her student when he was in 2nd grade. And in 1985, when she became his 6th grade teacher, she began an affair with him. He was 13 and she was 34 years old. By the time Mary was arrested, she was pregnant with her and her student's first child. Yes, first child. This story gets even more fucked up. The story became the punchline of many late-night shows in the US, which I think is a clear difference between the sexes immediately there. You would never see a host make a joke regarding a male teacher where the victim was a female. That wouldn't be seen as okay. I'll just insert a clip here for you to watch.
And I know People magazine agrees with me because they put her on the cover, Mary Kay Letourneau, the teacher from Seattle, who is in jail because she is in love. That's how I view it. I admit that it's unorthodox. She is 35. The boy is 14. He was younger when they started. But the big story this week.
Has he been bar mitzvahed?
Have I?
No, is he?
Oh. Okay. But she is pregnant again. That was the story this week. With the second child by this boy. So basically they're having a family and they're keeping the mother in jail because she won't conform to what society feels should be the perfect American family.
Yeah, it's perfect. To have My dad's 14 years
Sickening.
older than me.
Absolutely sickening.
What
Here
is
a
sickening?
woman who's over 20 years older, and she raped this kid.
Raped?
Well,
Come on.
she forced.
She
What?
forced? How do you know? And how
Well,
can
no,
you?
Well, how do you know that she didn't rape him?
How can
do
a
you
woman-
know that she
how-
didn't seduce him?
How can a woman rape a man?
I think that an older woman can manipulate a young kid, and I don't think it's really healthy. I don't think it's healthy for a kid who's going to be 14 with 2 kids out in the world. I think those children will grow up fairly damaged. I think that kid's going to grow up fairly damaged.
So you're on her side?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a damn shame, Bill Maher. A damn shame. I just wanted to say that. It's just something I've been wanting to say on TV a long time. It's a damn shame.
I see why they call you the entertainer.
That's it.
But if it were a 14-year-old girl, I mean, society would have
But it's not a
licked this man.
14-year-old
You're
girl.
not defending this woman, are you?
I am completely defending not the woman only, but the boy as well.
He's
I'm
14.
thinking about
What does he
and-
know?
When you were 14, would you have been able to take care of 2 kids?
Oh, I would have been able to take care of her.
Now, on a side note here, after listening and watching that disgusting video, I just wanted to say that I recently saw a TikTok of a man who was discussing being a victim of rape by a female teacher, and the comments were horrific. People were saying things like, "That's every boy's fantasy, you're so lucky," etc., etc. Why would you say that? I mean, would you say that to a female victim? Mary ended up pleading guilty to 2 counts of rape and was given a suspended 7-year sentence, serving just 6 months. She also had to enrol in a 3-year sex offender program. However, when she was caught with the victim in a parked car in 1998, she was sent back to serve the rest of her term in prison. And by that time, she was pregnant with their 2nd child. Mary was released in 2004, and her and her victim were married in 2005 in a ceremony exclusively covered by Entertainment Tonight. Yes, that is right. Their wedding was covered as if it was the marriage of Brad and Angelina, rather than what it was: a paedophile predator marrying their long-term victim. It just makes me feel sick. Another predatory teacher was Debra Lafave. Debra was a 23-year-old middle school teacher in Florida when she abused her 14-year-old victim in 2004. An absolute media frenzy occurred with this case, as Lafave was a very beautiful woman who was an ex-model. Prior to her trial, her defence attorney would state that she was too pretty to go to jail, and it would be like placing raw meat in with the lions. I'm sorry, but was that not her in the classroom, full with young boys? Because the trial was set to be aired on TV, the victim's mother ended up settling with Lafave, and she ended up being sentenced to 3 years house arrest with no jail time whatsoever and 7 years probation, and she was placed on the sex offenders registry. I understand why the mother agreed to this deal to a point. I'm a mother. I would not want, whether my child's identity was being disguised or anything, I would not want my child having to give evidence in a trial that was being filmed and placed on TV. I'm not sure why this decision was made. We have nothing like that in the UK, so I'm not sure what the process is. But the sentence is abhorrent, and I feel like it's just a slap on the wrist. And the fact that Beauty was even brought up, as in she is too pretty to go to jail, just baffles me. But it does go to support my argument that women are treated differently by society and the judicial system. These were just a couple of female teachers that I've sought. There's a website that I'll link below. There's a lot more cases on it if you choose to have a look. Now, let's have a look at some male teachers. None of these are ever going to be the perfect comparison, and there will always be cases where the sentences will be harsher for the women due to being made an example out of, etc. and there's always going to be cases where males get lenient sentences, but we cannot afford to ignore the trend of how women predators are perceived compared to males. Todd Cummings was a 50-year-old when he started the abuse of his then 15-year-old victim. A younger student had saw them kissing, and Cummings was suspended until an investigation took place. On March the 13th, the victim was reported missing. Coincidentally, it was the same day that Cummings had left his wife a note to say that he needed to go away to clear his head. As it turns out, Cummings had convinced the young girl to flee with him, and they were on the run for 38 days, which saw Cummings being added to the top 10 wanted list. Ultimately, when they were found, the girl had defended Cummings, declaring her love for him. It wasn't until later she had realised what had actually been happening, that she wasn't in a relationship, that this was a predator who had manipulated and groomed her to the point where she had, in my mind, and in my opinion, she had some sort of Stockholm Syndrome-esque thing going on. Ultimately, Cummings was charged and pleaded guilty to obstructing justice and taking a minor over state lines for sex, and was sentenced to 20 years in prison, and he will be placed on the sex offenders registry on his release. It is not hard to see the discrepancies in how cases are treated, and although, as I previously said, there is individual circumstances within each case, but in each case there is a predator, there is abuse, and there is the rape of a child. And the vast difference in sentencing and in public opinion is worrying. With the case of Lafave, she was younger and a beautiful woman, with the age gap not being as large as, say, in the Cummings case. However, they're both still adults grooming and abusing children. There is, of course, this fantasy, when you're an adolescent in school, that you could form a romantic relationship with a teacher. I myself had a crush on one of my high school teachers, but that's how it should stay. Even in the case of Lafave, where the age gap was only 7 to 8 years, it's still a child and the power difference is huge. It is up to the adult to make sure that the relationship stays within the boundaries of a student-teacher one. And even though we see that the student-teacher fantasy is very real, it's important to note that within the confines of societal reaction, female teachers who engage in sexual relationships with male students cause less public outrage. One factor of this, I personally believe, is that the victims are not seen as such. They are looked on as heroes by both their peers and other males. And even if they don't see it at the time, much like Cummings' victim, they have been abused. They've been manipulated and taken advantage of by an adult that they should have been able to trust, and who should have their best interests at heart. When I was younger, a band, Busted, released a song called That's What I Go to School For. And although I didn't think anything of it at the time, it did start playing whilst I was doing research for this video. Call it serendipity if you like. And when I was listening to it, I was like, this song perfectly shows how a female teacher, male student relationships are viewed, and why as a society it is treated differently and viewed as less serious. I won't play the song due to copyright, but I will link it below, and I'll read just some of the lines within the song. So she may be 33, but that doesn't bother me. I'm trying so hard not to sing it right now. Her boyfriend's working out of town. I find a reason to go round. Everyone that you teach all day knows that you're looking at me in a different way. I guess that's why my marks are getting so high. I can see those telltale signs telling me that I was on your mind. I could see that you wanted more when you told me that. She packed her bag, it's in the trunk, looks like she's picked herself a hunk. We drive past the school to say goodbye. My friends, they can't believe their eyes. So yeah, that's the song that seemingly condones women as sexual predators. Yikes. You can see cases of how stark the difference in how male and female predators are treated in society everywhere, not just within the realm of student-teacher relationships. And none of it seems more apparent than on social media. Let's have a look at TikTok. I recently did a video on the predator Mark Feely. He is hated in the community. Every time he is moved somewhere, people find his location, release it, and on several occasions he has been physically attacked and beaten up. I'm not saying that vigilantism is the way to go, and I'm not getting into that debate, but I'm just putting it out as an example. However, you have female predators like Zoe Laverne and Mama Steph, who seem to fly under the radar of the public, and very few people talk about it, and it doesn't make mainstream news. With regards to Zoe Laverne, she's a 19-year-old TikToker, and she had a relationship with a 13-year-old. The relationship was physical, albeit just kissing is all that we know about. There's no evidence that it went further, but there's no evidence that it didn't go further. There was no real backlash against her, yet there's people all over social media calling her out, but at the same time, she's had no real consequences for that behaviour. She still has like 18 million followers, and let's not forget that all-important verified check mark. And also, this poor boy is out here apologising for his behaviour when he did absolutely nothing wrong. I think what's more likely is that she's manipulated him to make him feel like the backlash against her is in some way his fault, and more likely he's just besotted with her. But how long will this last? How long will it be until he realises that she was just in fact grooming him? I'll link Bridie Sclair's video on Zoe's if you're interested in taking a deeper look into that shit rabbit hole. She always does a great job of explaining whatever story she's talking about. Just a side note though, as I was researching this video, it has been announced that she is pregnant, and she is declared the father of the baby as her 20-year-old boyfriend. But as the other situation happened not that long ago, the speculation about paternity is obviously there. Now, Mama Steph, another TikToker, now that one chick Steph, 97, in her early 20s, and she has a little thing for pre-testosterone trans males of the teenage variety. It seems her age range varies between 14 and 17, and she's absolutely disgusting. Not only is she victimising and grooming minors, but because these minors are trans males, they're probably more vulnerable and they're struggling a lot more and more I can't speak. I can't say, words cannot come out from my mouth. Susceptible to this kind of grooming. She has multiple TikTok videos, although the recent videos are a lot more wholesome, and her duets with these boys have all been deleted. She did previously have a lot of sexually explicit content that she filmed with these boys, and it was a lot of not safe for work stuff. With all the proof of her grooming, there's been no consequences for her behaviour. Again, I'll link a couple of videos by Calvin Garrett on the subject, as he goes into a lot more detail than I can right now. In the same realm with Mama Steph is Clap Daddy, a male creator who was outed just like Steph as fetishising young trans males and openly admitted to dating a minor. Clap Daddy, whose name is Colton, made a series of videos trying to explain himself, but ultimately just dug himself a deeper hole, with him being 22 at the time. He was a very large TikToker, but when these allegations were made and confirmed in early 2020, it led to him ultimately losing his TikTok account because of the public outrage. I'm not sure whether TikTok done it or he done it himself, but although from what I can see he's faced no criminal charges, his career has been ruined, and rightly so. Why is this the case for him and not Zoe Laverne and Mama Steph? This needs to be addressed, and our perceptions need to change. A groomer is a groomer, a predator is a predator, an abuser is an abuser, and a rapist is a rapist, no matter what sex they are or what sex their victims are. Sorry, I'm just getting a bit. Women are not shy. They're not timid. They're not delicate flowers we need to protect and trust at all times. Unfortunately, there are female predators out there, grooming, abusing, and raping children. And just because they have a vagina instead of a penis does not mean they should be held any less accountable, or that their actions should be seen as any less criminal than that of a man. I thought we were striving for equality. Oh, so only equality when it benefits you, right? When it comes to the judicial system, so many more factors are taken into consideration when deciding sentencing for women. Mainly the fact that if they have a family at home or if they are suffering from mental health conditions. Whereas largely those factors don't come into play when it comes to a man. In her 1959 book, Social Science and Pathology, Barbara Woototon wrote, "If men behaved like women, the courts would be idle and the prisons would be empty." And although this was written in 1959, I believe that the same general view is believed in society today. I think that what we have to look at in terms of this video pretty much goes against the feminist criminological application of double deviance. Is that the case for some female offenders? Of course it is. The main women I could think of when it comes to this is Myra Hindley, and that iconic picture of her as the face of evil. But even so, excuses were always made for her, like Ian pushed her into it, and she was fine until she met him. Like, she didn't have her own autonomy, much in the same way people look at Rose West. We need to work harder as a society to make changes in how female predators are treated, and how the judicial system fails the public and the victims with such lenient sentences. Sex and gender should not affect the punishment. Now that's all for this video today. I hope you liked it. If you want to see more content like this, please leave me a comment. All my sources, social media and everything will be left down below, and I'll see you next time. Bye.